Hello everybody, you have reached Lasha Royenko from High Voltage, and instead of looking at me today, we are reading chapter 2 of Jackie Bouvier Kennedy. Chapter 1 is complete with Carolyn Bissett, and yes, you get to look at the peaches, because by Tuesday, those peaches are going to turn into jam, and I'm not copying Meghan Markle. Now, where's my book? Here it is. So, without interruption, without my comments, we are reading Ask Not by Maureen Callahan and the Women They Destroyed, and we're on chapter 2, Jackie Bouvier, and I will show you, and I'm trying to do a chapter a day. Now, Jackie, this chapter is really very, very long, like really long. Let me just see. Actually, I might be able to get through the entire thing. So we're starting with Jackie Bouvier Kennedy. Take a snapshot. Take a snapshot if you want to read along with me. And it's page 24, page 25. So if you want to take a snapshot and read along with me, that would be great. Jackie Bouvier Kennedy. Later, when the history books were written and the documents made and the anniversaries marked, that trip for her, not him, was never inevitable. It wasn't fated. She hadn't agreed. As with so many things before, out of obligation, she'd gone because she wanted to, because it meant so much to him. And because he needed her, she needed him too, in a different way, but just as much. Her greatest regret was telling one historian, one she trusted, that she and her husband had had sex the night before, at the time full of sedatives and vodka. She wanted the historian and all those other inside men who'd worshipped her husband, who thought his compulsive womanizing meant that theirs was a marriage of convenience or political theater, or that worse, she wasn't enough. She wanted them to know they were in love. Theirs was a real marriage. They were equals. Where had this need for validation come from? It's not as though the world knew the truth about her husband and his constant philandering. It's not as if she wasn't writing history or rewriting history herself, coronating two of those bitter old men, as she called all those jealous chroniclers, those who lived through her husband, the great man, vicariously, to tell a larger story, to craft a great myth that the country she knew would swallow whole. Besides, everyone only wanted to know one thing: what had it been like in the back of that car? Oh my gosh, I'm interjecting here because this happened in the 60s. This is 2024, so 70 years ago, and they are still a part of American history in such a positive way. And even the movies and the books that have come out about Jack Kennedy have been very positive. Why? Because they're rich. And it's the same thing with the royal family, the Gettys, the Ari, oh gosh, her husband, the Greek guy. We'll be getting there. Aristotle. Well, you know who I'm talking about. Times were so different back then. And what is right nowadays was okay back then. And as history evolves, things that were horrendous, like chopping Anne Boleyn's head off, okay, so we moved away from doing things like that. And I'm talking about the world as a whole, because we are one, whatever people believe or not believe. I can't believe that this day of his assassination, JFK's assassination, was, it's seared into our consciousness. Again, if you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, my mother remembers where she was. She saw it on TV, and it traumatized my mother. So it's very interesting that people always want to know, what had it been like in the back of the car? That would have been the worst day of her life, and I bet you she had PTSD from that moment forward. Could you imagine trying to pick up your husband's remains? I mean, my goodness gracious. Okay. The day had felt hot and wild, the sun so strong. Jackie had gone to put her sunglasses on, but Jack said, "No, please don't. They really came to see you." Okay. Now, before I continue with the convertible, has anybody ever watched Halston on Netflix with Ian, or it's EWAN McGregor? Well, he invented the hat for Jackie Onassis. And it's an interesting documentary. At any rate, so the convertible had been left open just for that reason. God, was he a charmer? John F. Kennedy, the youngest elected president of the United States, lavishing Jackie with praise for her star power. How could she say no? Ahead was a small tunnel. Soon it would be cool and dark. Just for a few moments, all the screams of Jack's supporters, and this is in Dallas, by the way, they haven't said that yet, but it's in Dallas. All the screams of Jack's supporters lining the streets and the sounds of the motorcade muffled. Jack turned to her puzzled. He held his hand out, and then it just dropped like a chunk of his head came flying off. White, not pink, and then he was slumped in her lap. His blood and brains all over her face and her legs. Her pink roses and white gloves were soaked through with blood. It was so thick, almost neon. This is the book, YouTube, okay? Not me. It kept gushing and gushing, just an empty supply. "My God, what are they doing?" she screamed. "My God, they've killed my husband! Jack! Could you imagine the panic? She had no memory of leaping out of that car and crawling on the trunk. When she later saw the photos and the Zapruder film, she could never recognize the woman in the pink suit or what she was trying to do. Escape? Get help? Grab a piece of Jack's skull? His brain? That's how gruesome it was. Maureen Callahan is being very kind in the gruesomeness of this. Jackie would have fallen off of that truck and onto the road. The car going 70 miles an hour and approaching 80, if not for her favorite Secret Service agent, Clint Hill. Now, this is a name I've never heard in the history books. Clint Hill. He ran toward her, nearly falling himself, if not for Jackie reaching out and grabbing him. Hill saw the terror in her eyes, and he just as scared. "Get us to the hospital," Hill screamed. "Get us to the hospital." He used his body like a canopy, pushing Jackie back in to the bloody cavern. Chunks of bone and brain splattered everywhere, the car moving so fast that the Hill's sunglasses flew right off his face. Jackie huddled over Jack, cradling what was left of his head, frantically tamping brain matter down into his skull as if she could save him. "Jack," she said, yelling over the sirens and the screams and the motor gunnings all around them. "Jack, can you hear me? I love you, Jack, I love you." I can't imitate Jackie Onassis. I just can't even imagine. Hill saw clean through to the back of the president's skull. Now Jackie realized it too. "My God!" she screamed. "They shot his head off." She never once asked if she had been hit. She never asked if any of the blood was hers. She never flinched from the sheer carnage in the back seat. Her only concern was Jack. He had to know he wasn't going to die alone. All right, next pages. Okay, if you want to read along, page 26, page 27. Take a snapshot. Okay. You come with us. Big men in white surrounded the car, ordering Jackie out. She was on top of Jack, shielding him. No one was going to see him this way. "Mrs. Kennedy, you come with us." She couldn't look up. The more she was told to get out of the car, the farther down she shrank, the tighter she held him. "Mrs. Kennedy," it was Clint Hill speaking softly, "please let us help the president." Jackie couldn't understand. Why was no one accepting reality? "I'm not leaving," Jackie said. "You know he's dead." "Please," Hill said. He was begging. "Let us get him into the hospital." Jackie looked up at Hill, keeping Jack's head, that was left of it, hidden against her chest. Hill realized she didn't want the world to see the president that way. If she could save his life, she would at least save his dignity. After everything he did to her, what a remarkable woman. Hill shook off his suit. I'm saying that. Then the whoosh of the emergency room curtain. Jack was on one side, Jackie on another. He wasn't alone, but she was. Coming toward her was Dave Powers, one of Jack's closest aides. He was practically part of the family, knowing jokingly as Jack's other wife. It was Dave who woke the president in the morning, who tied his necktie and smoothed his feathers, and always able to diffuse the tension in any given room. Jackie really loved Dave, and this was largely because she had no idea what he really did for Jack Kennedy. Dave had been riding in the car right behind theirs when Jack was shot. He burst into tears as Jackie, dry-eyed, oblivious to Jack's blood all over her, sat on a folding chair and smoked. Do you know, this is Lasha speaking, it was a myth that Jackie Onassis didn't smoke. Nurses and doctors rushed behind. Why would she try to hide that she smoked? Smoking was big back then. I don't understand. Do you know more women smoke today now than men? At any rate, oh, wait, I just lost myself. No, I didn't. Here I am. Okay. Nurses and doctors rushed behind that curtain. It was pointless. No one comforted Jackie, they stated, though one nurse had tried to strip Jackie's gloves off. Others tried to move her to a bed. A doctor rushed by Jackie and slipped something into his hands. It was a piece of Jack's brain. Oh my gosh. Nellie Connolly, who had been riding up front in the same car with her husband, Jack, the governor of Texas, was suddenly next to Jackie. John Connolly had also been shot. He was the trauma room too. Nellie said nothing. Softly, Jackie asked Nellie how her husband was. Silence. Then after a few moments, a reply. "He'll be all right," Nellie said. Jackie motioned to Powers. "Dave," Jackie said, "you better get a priest." All around her, men, big Texans, orderlies and interns, Secret Service and police, were losing their composure. She sat there in her folding chair, quiet yet watchful, shooing away the doctors who kept telling her she needed to be taken off and drugged, like Jack's personal physician, whom she and Jack called Doc Berkeley. "Mrs. Kennedy," Berkeley said, "you need a sedative." Berkeley was heaving with sobs. If anyone needed a sedative, "I want to be there when he dies," Jackie told him. Jack was still taking shallow breaths. How could he still be taking shallow breaths when he had his brain shot? I don't understand that. Okay. Wow. The human body. Oh, great, Lasha. The human body and the human spirit will do anything to survive. It's unbelievable. Jackie mentioned to Powers, "You better get a priest." Okay, so she's around all of these men. So about the sedative, you need a sedative. Well, if anybody needed a sedative, it sounded like everybody else needed it. And Jackie was just stoic and calm and collected. "I want to be there when he dies. I'm coming in," Jackie said. Everyone thought she was so demure, but Jackie was tougher than anyone knew. She hated this nurse. Who was she? How dare she keep the First Lady from the dying President of the United States? "Move!" Jackie shoved Doris. "I'm coming in and I'm staying," Jackie said. There had been a time when Jackie listened to the doctors and the nurses all those years ago, when Jack, 1 year into their marriage, was in a top hospital in New York City near death and calling for her desperately. His cries had broken her heart. In his anguish, she heard the little boy who'd been left in one too many hospital beds by his mother and father. But back then, Jackie did what the doctor said and stayed in the hallway, trusting they knew best. She had sworn that she would never leave Jack alone like that again. Okay, so tomorrow or later, I have to go to work. When I get back from work, we're picking off right here. This part, you see there? Where that line is, that's where we're picking up. So take a couple of snapshots real quick if you want to read it with me. Okay. Everybody, happy Saturday, August the 10th. Make it a good day, even if you feel like crap-a-rooney. Make it a good day. Trevor, we'll see you live tonight. Everybody, I love you. I miss you guys. I miss you, Sarah. And most of all, I respect all of you because you respect me. And respect is a two-way street, and respect is earned. And trust is earned. Thank you for trusting me. And thank you for the people on this channel that have been unwavering supporters of this channel. And this is a charity. And for those of you waiting for me to make money off Google, I can't help anybody until that happens. So please, people, stop messaging me, asking me for help when I'm not even at 1,000 people yet. And 1,000 human beings who join this channel, they are the people that I want to look out for the most. Not that anybody needs looking out for, but if somebody does, okay, that is a wrap. Welcoming, respecting aspects of all people's societies, including the elite. We have to have some compassion. Not that they have compassion for us, but I do not believe in an eye for an eye.